Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you could join us for this edition of Voices from the Field, Turning Uncertainty into Hope. National mission institutions rise to meet federal policy impacts. I am Jessica Tulloch, and I have the privilege of working at the National Office of United Women in Faith as a liaison with over 40 of the national mission institutions. Voices from the Field is a quarterly virtual educational series featuring programs and initiatives supported by your mission giving and other financial gifts. We look forward to today's program, which will feature the work of national mission institutions. National mission institutions are educational institutions, community-based organizations, and social service agencies that provide vital services in vulnerable and marginalized communities across the United States. The overwhelming majority of today's more than 80 national mission institutions were founded by women that were members or missionaries of United Women in Faith's predecessor organizations, or who entrusted their properties and missions to us at the turn of the 20th century. These initiatives survive today as independent, autonomous, nonprofit agencies in relationship with United Women in Faith. The national mission institutions continue the legacy of our foremothers as they empower women, care for children, support seniors, educate youth, provide housing for domestic violence survivors, and offer residences for special needs children and youth, and so much more. United Women in Faith members play an important role in supporting national mission institutions through their gifts of time and talent as volunteers, advocates, and as members of boards of directors. With your financial contributions to United Women in Faith, the National Office supports NMIs through grants, technical support and trainings, and networking opportunities.
My name is David Price, and I am also a National Office staff working as a liaison to national mission institutions. Now, focusing on the theme of today's event, since Inauguration Day, White House executive orders have impacted the way the federal government operates, as well as agencies and organizations that engage in immigration programs, climate justice, housing, early childhood education programs, women's concerns, and more. The passage of the Big Beautiful Bill in July and new rules for not-for-profit organizations further impacts communities and the national mission institutions that serve them. Over 60% of NMIs receive or have received federal support either through direct grants, pass-through funds, and other assistance with federally supported partners. This support is a lifeline for so many and critical for meeting the needs of vulnerable communities, such as high-quality after-school programs, food pantries, emergency shelter for women escaping violence, Head Start programs, humanitarian relief, and so much more. Federal funding now comes with new rules, like eliminating references to diversity and social indicators, or tracking the immigration status of clients. Heeding these rules while facing funding cuts has forced some NMIs to reduce staff, stretch resources, and creatively implement programs. Some executive directors are no longer receiving a salary, but continue to work. Others have completely changed their operations in order to increase safety and security for their clients. In the months ahead, we anticipate increased need for social services like healthcare and food assistance, as the impacts of the federal budget cuts to Medicaid and Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, among others, are felt across the country, particularly by low-income women with children. Across the board, NMIs are making extraordinary efforts to counter the effects of these changes, but they can't do it alone. Today, we are going to hear from 3 NMIs, learn about their ministries and the impact federal policy changes have had on their communities, and how UW Faith members can support their ministries to ensure no woman or child gets left behind.
Through the next 50 minutes or so, we'll hear more about these federal policy changes through the testimony of three courageous leaders, Astrid Dominguez, Suzanne Zetter, and Dr. Lupe Rivera. As we witness their work, let's imagine the impact multiplied in diverse locations across the United States. After their presentations, we'll have a few minutes for question and answer before the closing of the formal program. For those who would like, you may stay after the close to join a breakout room discussion with each of our resource speakers today.
So now let us move to our first National Mission Institution speaker. She is the Executive Director of Good Neighbor Settlement House in Brownsville, Texas. As a proud Brownsville native and fronteriza, Astrid Dominguez is a first-generation immigrant who serves her community and champions civil and human rights, and leads efforts to assist vulnerable populations, including unhoused individuals, low-income families, and newcomers. Before her current position, Astrid has also lent her expertise to the Mexican Foreign Ministry, working at the Consulates of Mexico in Brownsville and Phoenix. We invite Astrid to share with us the great work of Good Neighbor Settlement House and what's going on in the community it serves. Astrid?
Thank you, David. Thank you, Jessica, and thank you so much today for having me. My name is Astrid Dominguez. I'm the Executive Director of Good Neighbor Settlement House in Brownsville, Texas. We're right at the border with Matamoros, Mexico. Many of you have been, seeing the names and have been very gracious in visiting us, volunteering, or sending donations. So we truly appreciate each and every one of you taking the time of being with us today. So, like David mentioned and Jessica mentioned, there's been impact in the work that we do, as every other nonprofit in the nation. And we're going to share a little bit of, not only what we do, but also how you can support us. Next slide, please. So Good Neighbor Settlement House, we exist to give clients hope by creating a community of empowerment. We do that by providing meals, basic needs, outreach, and support services. But more importantly, we work to leave a lasting legacy of positive change here in Brownsville. And, hope it's not just words for us. It's the center of everything we do at Good Neighbor Settlement House, who's been around since 1953. Next slide, please. So this is a little bit of our impact. So far, these numbers reflect what we do in our community. And this is where hope begins. We meet people where they are. We provide them warm meals, hygiene items, a hygiene program, case management. And this isn't just about handing out food or supplies. It's about connecting with people, building trust, and helping them take the next step towards stability. And, these numbers reflect a little bit of that. Street outreach, we go out there in the community to find those unhoused and provide warm meals, hygiene kits, and case management so they can eventually come to Good Neighbor, and we can connect them with other services such as housing, provide housing and supportive services, mental health support, which is key, especially for those that are unhoused. And, medical services as well as, there's a highly uninsured population in South Texas. So connecting our clients to medical services is key. And sometimes this is all they've seen in years. And then we have strong partnerships with other, of course, we can't do this alone. And we, with the First United Methodist Church in Brownsville volunteers once a month, and they come and they serve dinner to our clients. And I think that speaks, to how one action can help our community and really make a positive impact, to the clients that we serve. Next slide, please. So, we are operating in time of major change. are for some of you who have been aware and know about our Welcome Center, back in 2018, for Good Neighbor Settlement House, we started precisely to help those families that were coming across from Mexico, and then were settling in Brownsville. So that's how we were born. And it was a group of founding mothers, I call them, that decided to come together to help these families to settle and adapt to their new lifestyle. So fast forward to now, in 2018, we launched our migrant program and started welcoming the migrants in a more formal way. We started working with the federal government as well. So all the migrants that were coming through were released, and we would welcome them. We would give them a warm meal. We'll give them hygiene items, a clothing, whatever they might need for the road and for their to get to their destination. So we're just a pit stop, but it was an important one because not only we would provide with this, but it was a way to say to them, you're welcomed here. They're friendly and with a friendly tone, a smile and kindness to make sure that they could get to the destination and have the information needed also to get there. We had to close the Welcome Center at the beginning of incoming administration. So these were changes that we had seen coming. After the election, we at Good Neighbor took some steps to have a plan of what would happen. And we knew not only the policy change and migrants stop, but we knew that the funds that we were getting would stop. And, it did. So the Welcome Center closed. We stopped seeing migrants literally the day of inauguration. After that, they shut down the border completely, and no migrants were coming through, nor at the port of entry, nor anywhere else. In addition to that, we're seeing more HUD compliance, rising HUD compliance requirements, new executive orders affecting the unhoused, and overall the impact that impact the work that we do, and this shifts make our work harder. And, it makes our mission harder and more urgent. Though, we're Good Neighbor Settlement House is committed to adapting and staying active and proactive, no matter, what the policy landscape looks like. And next slide, please. So with those changes, of course, comes the financial reality. You all might experience that the rising cost of food, utilities, and then keeping good staff, right? Like many organizations were facing those rising costs. Our soup kitchen expenses alone have gone up. And, we have projected, from $120,000, for example, last year. This year, it's $140,000. And at the same time, we continue to remain heavily dependent on federal grants and private foundations, and that's not sustainable. Private funders have told us you need to diversify your funding, especially as demand continues to grow in the wake of the pandemic and recent elections and the changes that are coming. This is why flexible recurrent support is so critical for us to thrive and continue to have our doors open. Next slide, please. So, how the challenges we face and how has this impacted Good Neighbor Settlement House? So we had to close the Welcome Center, and that meant we had 4 full-time staffers, and that meant reduction in staff. We had a reduction of force plan in place before the end of the year, and across the organization back then, when we ended 2024, we were our staff was 25. At the beginning, January 1st, we had to do layoffs, decrease hours. So 10 positions across the organization were impacted by these changes, and 4 of those positions were shut down. Now, we were lucky enough, we were able to, we had talented staff that we were able to continue to, we were able to offer them another position in other programs in order to keep that good talent that we had. But didn't mean that other people, of course, weren't impacted. So it has a real impact on the services. We didn't stop, and volunteers have stepped in to fill up the gaps. And the dedication shows that even in the hardest moments, the community finds ways to serve. It hasn't been easy, but it's proof that resilience is possible when people come together. In addition to that, having less staff and then the added burden of all this other requirements that the federal government it's asking in each of the programs, right, that are making it even a little bit more harder and time consuming for staff. So we have 3 caseworkers that, in addition to serving the clients, being, the housing case manager, doing street outreach, in addition to that, have a lot of paperwork that they have to fill out, which we know, right? It's grants, we have to do this work, but it's added compliance and regulations and added paperwork that they need to do that, also takes away time from them. And, of course, we would love to hire more people, but then there's the part of, budget issues. So we do rely a lot on volunteers to do the work that we do. It would not be possible to do what we do without the volunteers. Next slide, please. So, despite barriers, we've achieved housing placements. Right now, we have 7 clients, unhoused clients that now they're formerly unhoused, but 7 of our clients have been housed. We have 4 that are currently taking either a welding certification training, a cosmetology training, or a barber to get their certification for cosmetology or barber schools. So we're pretty proud of what we're accomplishing, because we want to be able to give our clients a tool to be self-sufficient. And we know it doesn't happen overnight. And we know we are their support network, and we have to be here for them. Mental health has been a key component of this because we need to meet our clients where they are, and they are a Good Neighbor Settlement House. This is their community. So we make sure that, they feel they have the support they need here with us at Good Neighbor. We've strengthened our partnerships with groups like UTRGV, the School of Social Works. Right now, we have around 10 interns, which is probably the highest number we've ever had. And this is great because then it supports our caseworkers, of course, to do the work that they have to do. New Horizon Clinic, which is our only, type of community clinic we have, so that they can come and, see our clients. Expanded mental health access support for our clients, which again, that is key. So resilience and innovation are what define us, and adapting the challenges while keeping our focus on the people we serve. At the end of the day, it's the clients that we serve, and that's why we're here. So we have to keep them front and center. Next slide, please. So the path forward, so looking ahead, sustainability is our focus. That means flexible recurrent donations through initiatives like our Good Neighbor Patrons Initiative, which allow donors to become legacy leaders or community champions with donations from $100,000 down. As annual commitments. It also means expanding unrestricted donations and building long-term partnerships with foundations, corporations, and faith groups. And just as important, it means advocating for policies that create fairness and opportunity for the people that we serve. Next slide, please. But, we cannot do this alone. We need you, and you can join us in turning uncertainty into hope by becoming, a community champion, but advocating for supportive policies, and by partnering with Good Neighbor Settlement House, whether it's your time, whether it's sending donations, sending your kids, any type of donation, and your time, of course, it's valuable and welcome. So, whether you give, volunteer, or share our story, you're helping sustain this work. Next slide, please. So these are the different ways you can support us. Next slide, please. So, in closing, I want to leave you with this thought. Together, we sustain hope. Every meal, every outreach effort, every volunteer hour helps turn uncertainty into hope for someone in Brownsville. We invite you to be part of this legacy of change. And these are different pictures. I want to show you the one in the middle. This is a client of ours who came and said, look, I'm an artist, and I have an idea for a mural at Good Neighbor Settlement House. So Donald, painted that beautiful mural, and it symbolizes the different community members coming together, regardless of race, regardless of color. He said, like, we're all one, and we all meet here at Good Neighbor. And this is right at the center of Good Neighbor Settlement House. Up there you have our garden. We have a community garden. We're harvesting. What we're harvesting, we're cooking in our soup kitchen. And you see Tina right in the middle with those trays of lettuce that were harvested in our own community garden. Then we see several of our clients who've gotten their certificates, welding certificates, and then, their housing, our interns, our street outreach, and then, of course, our volunteers who without them, we could not do the work that we do. So I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Astrid. We are really grateful to learn more about the great work of Good Neighbor Settlement House and the impact of its mission. Now, our next speaker is the Executive Director of Families Forward, operating out of Des Moines, Iowa. She has over 30 years of experience in nonprofit leadership and holds a master's degree in management from Hamline University. She has led transformational initiatives at organizations across the country, including the United Way chapters, animal rescue organizations, and various human service agencies. We welcome Suzanne Zitter to share with us today about the Ministry of Families Forward and the impact of federal policy changes on its community. Now over to you, Suzanne.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so glad to be here. You just get to see my face. I don't have a beautiful PowerPoint for all of you. And to follow up, my colleague is a big lift here. So I'm in Des Moines, Iowa. I'm with Families Forward. Some of you may have known of us as Bidwell Riverside or Hawthorne Hill. There were two organizations that officially merged in July of 2023. Both organizations were established in the 1890s, 1893 and 1894 by the Methodist ministries. So we have stayed with that tradition. I know this is a very tough time for many of us throughout the country, whether you're a lay person, a retired person, a corporate person. We're hearing from all types of people that this is a very unique and interesting time in our country. Our organization has 4 very distinct programs that I want to share with you and talk about the impact of the changes. And some of them are very similar that we're hearing across the country from many nonprofits. And some of them are unique because we are in Des Moines, Iowa. So our 4 distinct programs, we have an emergency shelter that is specifically for families. Family, how you define family. For example, we had a mom, dad, 5 kids, grandpa, and uncle. We also have 27 rental units across the city of Des Moines, Iowa. They include a triplex, 3 duplexes, and the rest are single-family homes. Again, we work only with families, and the rents are very, very low-income rents. $550, capping out at $650, and otherwise 30% of your income, whichever is greater. That particular program is closing with case management or services. We work with the residents to help them move to their next success in life. We have a food pantry that also gives away clothing. We serve more individuals than any food pantry in the state of Iowa. We serve over 21,000 individuals a year, which is a lot for our community. And it's 130 to 150 families a day. Our 4th program is our Child Development Center. So we have child care, 6-week-olds to 5-year-olds. We just renovated to add those little infants. So we're excited about that. Our child care and its uniqueness, we do not put a limit on the number of parents that can use our facility that need child care assistance to pay the bill. Many child cares will do that, because child care assistance, which is a government program, doesn't pay the true cost of having a child care. Our childcare has 58 total slots, and again, 84% of those are on childcare assistance, meaning that those folks are low income. And it also tells me how much people want to work. They're willing to work and use the childcare so they can work and build their lives. So with all of those that I've talked about, I just want to share a little bit of statistical data and some information and what we're trying to find. So in the housing, we have discovered they just did the point in time count. If any of you know of that, it's when we go out in the community with trained volunteers to talk to all the homeless folks that we can find. They do a count and determine, where we're at year over year. It's done twice a year in the winter and then in the summer. And so we are seeing a 40% increase in the last 5 years of the unhoused or homeless in the Polk County, which is where the city of Des Moines is located. That's quite a jump. And then the reason why we believe we're seeing this jump is that the federal emergency rent support is gone. That funding has gone. The other thing, and I'm sure everyone's hearing this across the country, is rent is very high. And our rent in Des Moines, for some of you, might seem very cheap, but of course it's all relevant. Our average rent is $1,200 a month for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. So if you have a family of 3 or 4 children, it's going to be tough. The other barrier we see in housing in Iowa, and I'd love to call people to action if you're in our state. In Iowa, it's illegal. In Iowa, if you have ever been evicted from an apartment or a rental unit, it's on your record for the rest of your life. So what we're seeing is an increase in homeless. People are applying for apartments, but it's all computerized. So there isn't a person to talk to. So if the computer pulls up you've been evicted, it kicks out your application, doesn't give you that $50 or $75 fee back. So that's a struggle for many people because there isn't anyone just to talk to that happened 20 years ago, or if it happened last year because of a very serious situation, then you had to leave your home. So I've been asking all Iowans to call their legislators and say, hey, that's kind of silly. Bankruptcy falls off after 7 years. What are we doing here? So that's my call to action in that area. For our Child Development Center, what we're seeing with you, many of the care assistants, we know that people want to work. We know there's a shortage of childcare because childcare, it's expensive to run a childcare. We need community support to run a childcare. And what that means is we have a partnership with the school district so that the little ones are kindergarten ready. And the school district also reimburses the teacher that we have in the classroom. She's a 4-year licensed early childhood education teacher, and we're very thrilled to have her. But the reality of childcare is if we charge one of the least amounts in the metro region, and it's still $250 a week. Some of the things that can help with childcare are volunteerism, to go in and maybe clean up classrooms at the end of the day, to find out if they will let you volunteer in the classroom and rock a baby while another baby's being fed by the teacher in the classroom, come to the playground and play with the little ones. That's something that we would certainly love here. And if you know of childcares in your region that are nonprofit, you might want to give them a buzz and see if it's possible. Everybody has different regulations, but I would love to see more and more volunteers in the childcare space. It's good for the little ones, and it's so helpful for the team. The other thing that we're seeing with the childcare, it's difficult for people to have transportation to get to childcare. And so this all falls into, and as I start talking about the food, because of our food pantry, you'll understand how it's becoming more and more of a serious problem with the changes in funding. So I'll jump from the childcare and the transportation issues to drop children off and to get to work, because bus lines are very limited here, to our food pantry, again, serving more Iowans than any other food pantry in the state. And it's been around since 1893. The struggle that we're having, we've been fortunate that we do not have a lot of federal funding. Our budget is $2.5 million, and about let me think. I'm thinking about 1% is federal funding that's been cut. So we'll be trying to make that up somewhere else. We live in Iowa, which is a state that has also cut funding to our programs and set up regulations that make it difficult for people to be able to work and also receive the services that they need. With our food pantry, it's our biggest area of concern in addition to our shelter for homeless families. Because of the cost of food going up, because the United States Department of Agriculture program that allowed food banks such as Feeding America to purchase food, to ship out to all the food banks across the country, that has been eliminated. Some food banks spent 30% of their monies to purchase food from the USDA to then distribute to the food pantries such as ours. They were able to buy this in large quantities, store it, and reduce the price for all of us food pantries to purchase this food. With that program being gone, we will be unable to supplement the food that is missing. And it's starting now. It was passed a bit ago to cut that program, but now the food's running out. We're seeing less and less types of food to purchase. For the first time in the history that we can remember, the food bank had no meat for us to purchase. So the very few protein sources, cheese, milk, eggs, that's all the USDA foods we are unable to purchase. And there is nowhere else to purchase those things at the cost. We pay pennies on the dollar when we purchase through the food bank because of the agreement with the USDA. So that's a serious concern for us and how we're going to be able to make that up. The other concern with the changes at the national level, I just discovered that the USDA will no longer be releasing their report on the Household Food Security Report. This report, the last one, will be coming out in October. So the USDA has been cut. The programs for SNAP have changed. They also changed the program. There used to be a program farmers could apply to receive assistance so that they could sell their product to the food bank for a reduced rate or a break-even rate. And that's gone. So that's even more product. In Iowa alone, that's $2 million of lost food. And we're not as populated, so you can imagine states as California, Texas, and so on. So what I found interesting, and may I say that the programs are cut, and now they're saying don't report the problem. That isn't by accident, I don't think, and I'm getting on my soapbox a little bit, and I'm concerned because food insecurity has grown across our in 3 years, it's grown by 2.5% across our country. Food insecurity means you don't know where your next meal is coming from. I will tell you that at our food pantry, even prior to these cuts happening with the USDA and the farmers program as well, we have seen an increase of people coming to our food pantry of 45% over the last 5 years. The team is telling me at the food pantry, we're setting new records yet again. We're serving 130 to 150 families a day. For some of you, that may not sound like a lot, but for us, that's a lot. So our biggest concern is with the cost of groceries going up, with the benefits available going down, the need is only going to go up and we have less food to give out. So there's going to be quite a stressful situation for our families. So more than the concern about if we're receiving funding as an organization is the burden we're seeing put on our families that we serve. And the families that we serve, we know very well. Some of the families that come to the food pantry are homeless. They tell us their story. We try to connect them with other resources available. Resources are limited. Some of our people come maybe once a quarter, once a year. We had one gal tell us that she went through a divorce, so went into poverty very quickly because she was a stay-at-home mom. She was ashamed and embarrassed to even think about having coming to a food pantry, but she knew she had to because she couldn't feed her kids without coming to the food pantry. So she came to our food pantry, found out that we had clothing available, told us in a wonderful way that she came there and she wrote it for us. She was so glad to come. She was treated with dignity and respect and compassion, and so thrilled that we also had clothes, because you know how fast those kiddos grow, and she didn't have proper clothes for the summer. So she was able to grab up some clothes for her kiddos for the summer. So those are the things. Donate clothes if you're cleaning out a closet. If you're shopping at a store and you see buy one, get one, get that extra one or get two extra ones and bring them to your local food pantry, your emergency shelters, your shelters for survivors of domestic violence, and so on, because those are the things that it's really great to have. And some of us, we may not think about it, but boy, we do go through a lot of tissue, toilet tissue and Kleenexes and paper towels, all of those kind of things that we take for granted, maybe the shampoo, the deodorants, all of those things. So my call to action goes out again: volunteer, donate product, clean out your closets. And also, if you can donate, that's a beautiful thing. Our organization would not exist without the generosity of this organization I'm speaking to. Every time I go out to speak, I tell them that I'm blessed to be in this position and that we receive the support from all of you. We wouldn't be able to do any of this work. And knowing that you're with us in this mission, that you are caring about what we do, lifts me up and gives me the support that I need to continue to do this job every day, and my team as well. They're all very grateful to the mission of United Women in Faith. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzanne, for sharing what is happening in Iowa and the work of Families Forward. And for our last resource speaker today, we have Dr. Lupe Rivera, who has more than 25 years experience leading transformational change and advancing social justice. Holding a doctorate in executive leadership and transformation, her passion to serve is rooted in her personal experiences of homelessness and hunger, physical assault, and the violent death of her best friend, who took a bullet meant for her. These defining moments of hardship and survival forged within her an unshakable resilience and a profound empathy for others. They also instilled a lifelong commitment to ensuring that everyone she serves has access to safety, dignity, and opportunity. As CEO of Toberman Neighborhood Center since 2022, Dr. Rivera has worked tirelessly to expand programs and rebuild community trust, doubling access to the food pantry and establishing comprehensive mental health services for young people, among others. Earlier this year, she was honored by the San Pedro Chamber of Commerce for her outstanding contributions to the San Pedro community. Dr. Lupe Rivera.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Like they said, they should be playing the video now.
Hey, my name is Kevin Washington, and I am recording a testimonial for Toberman Community Center. They helped me with my finances. I really had no idea. I'm kind of rebuilding my life. I came here June 1st for treatment and recovery, and just getting back on my feet alone was kind of a daunting task. But I met with Roger, the financial helper there, and he walked me through it. He gave me some pointers on which bank I should bank with after I became employed. He helped me with a really good program that allowed for me to deposit $100 into my checking account with Malaga Bank, which is a local bank here in San Pedro. I also was able to get assistance with food and clothing through their vouchers and their free gym there on campus. I stop by there sometimes. It's just an awesome facility. Everybody there is so nice and so helpful. They're going to be helping me with my taxes in the coming days, so we're looking forward to that. But as community centers go, they are definitely Kevin approved. So thank Toberman and everybody who's under that umbrella.
Well, thank you, everyone, for having me here again. My name is Dr. Lupe Rivera. I am the CEO for Toberman Neighborhood Center, and it's an honor to be here today and share our impact, the challenges that we are facing, but also how we are pivoting as an organization, as individuals, as well as we all are also having to address our personal traumas with the challenges that we're facing right now and the political landscape that we are also facing. As you saw, we have a huge impact in the harbor area, not just the San Pedro area, but the entire harbor area communities. That includes Wilmington, San Pedro, Harbor City, Harbor Gateway, Torrance. We have through our Family Source Center, as you saw, we do provide support with utility assistance, our food pantry, which our numbers have almost tripled, our thrift store, which is our second chance voucher. And what that is that a community member can come in, receive services, and we provide them with a $25 second chance voucher to shop at our thrift store for free, and they can get whatever it is that they need. And it's a voucher per family member. So we have youth in there that may need additional clothing, maybe they need pots and pans, whatever the case may be. They're able to come in and shop for free in our thrift store. We also have our rental assistance program, which we contribute over $275,000 back into the community to keeping people housed. The issue is that if we wait until they become homeless and we wait until they're on the streets, it's very difficult to rehouse individuals, especially mothers with children who have male youth that are 15, 16 years old. A lot of the times, a lot of the shelters will not allow their youth to come with them. So sometimes it's very difficult to house individuals. So what we do on our side is that the participant comes to us. We negotiate. So for example, if they're 3-4 months behind, sometimes they've been 6 months behind. If they're behind, we go ahead and negotiate with the landlord themselves. Once they accept the negotiation and they understand that we're going to pay for the full amount of what the individual owes, then we sit down with the individual and we do financial coaching with them. We help them with budgets. If they don't have a bank account, we pay like Kevin shared earlier in the video. We put $100 towards her savings account or checking account, and we have them come and receive food pantry services. So for example, if they're going to spend $200-$300 a week on groceries, we have them save that money, put it back into their savings account, and they receive the food pantry services here. And they will see our financial coach to make sure that they're making different and much stronger and better money decisions for them and their family. We also have our community violence prevention and intervention piece, which is incredibly critical to the work that we do. We conduct safe passage. As you saw in our video, we have probably over 7,000 hours worth of safe passage, rumor control, supporting incidents response. And what that is that, for example, unfortunately, yesterday we had a shooting with a 16-year-old being shot in one of the projects. And so the police get called out. My team gets called out to conduct rumor control, safe passage, and incidents response. That means we provide supportive services to the family and the people that were injured in that moment. And we provide those ongoing services for them. And those are called victim services through our organization. We do service over 19 schools throughout the harbor area. And so anytime there's any potential for community violence, our staff is called out to support with those efforts. In connection to that, our community violence prevention intervention, our family source center, as well as our college corner, they all work in conjunction with one another. So for example, our college corner, we provide one-on-one tutoring. Youth can come here and receive their meal while they're receiving tutoring support, college support, and the family can also receive services at the same time. I think what's so unique about our organization is that we also have a PSA on staff. So basically, they're a counselor who works with the school district, so that a lot of the times if the parent cannot go to an appointment to the school, they're having issues or challenges with their youth attending school, any violence, low grades, they can actually come here and receive the service and meet with the PSA from the school as well. In addition to that, we do have our mental health services that we just started. These mental health services are specifically for youth 14 to 24 years old, as we see that is usually the significant impact, specifically when they are system impacted youth. And so we try to do this in a very unique, different way. A lot of the times our youth will not go and sit down with a therapist and have therapy. So we have, for example, boxing therapy, which is interesting. It sounds like it's violence, but it's not, I promise you. They teach our youth different ways to address and deal with the trauma that they face consistently out in the communities. We have anime, we have arts, and we have crafts, and we have different types of workshops that will attract youth to come in and receive the mental health support that a lot of the times that we need, right? I mean, I see myself in the youth in the community. I was homeless for many years with my father. We would eat out of trash cans. So every community member that comes to see us, I see myself in them. Like, you know, they shared earlier in my bio, I too suffered community violence, unfortunately, gang violence at a young age. And so again, that is my connection to the gang violence intervention and prevention that we have available. And the way that the funding has impacted us, as I shared earlier, our numbers have almost tripled. But unfortunately, immediately in January, February, I would say in January, February, late February, we immediately from one day to another, we lost about $70,000 to support our food pantry. And we were notified about, I would say a few weeks ago, that there's a huge deficit from our current contract of $110,000. What we've done, and we've kind of seen this coming along even in the last year, we're incredibly strategic to making sure that we create those relationships and those partnerships with our politicians that support the work that we do. So in knowing that, I definitely try to get ahead of it, knowing that this was coming. And so we definitely, created partnerships with our local partners, businesses, our councilman, our assembly member, our congresswomen. So, we definitely reached out to them. We were able to fill some of that gap with a grant from the councilman's office. And also with additional funding from the city that I just luckily through a lot of the partnerships that we build with them and keeping them consistently informed of not only the impact, but the need, but also the challenges that we are facing as an organization that has been serving, the harbor area for over 100 years. And so I know it's a lot of times for us leaders, it's incredibly difficult, time consuming, but it's a benefit, I think, in the long run for our organizations. In addition, we did lose our development director. So that was just one person. And it allowed me to look at the funding landscape differently and be creative. I couldn't just focus on one person. I couldn't just focus just on the board to support. So in my mind, I thought, who was my mover and shaker out in the harbor area? Who is connected not only at the community level, at the business level, but also in the political landscape? And so I was able to, I did something a little bit different. He doesn't have that career background and development, but he is a connector at heart. And so I decided to offer him a consulting position to come in and help us with our individual giving, but also corporate giving. That has really helped us to be successful in that space. We have been able to get some additional funding that we normally wouldn't have had if we didn't have his support. We hired additional support with grant writing. And so instead of having one person with funding, we have now 3 to 4, whether they're consultants or staffing, really not only staying within this bubble of ours, but really expanding our landscape and fundraising as well. So really my call to action is consistently stay connected with the organizations. The ongoing flexible and ongoing funding and unrestricted is going to be beneficial for, I'm sure, for my colleagues and for myself, as we need to adjust based on what the community needs, right? Just like we're seeing triple numbers in the need, we're also seeing a lot of people canceling their appointments. And so we've shifted over to do case management via Zoom. We're doing deliveries for the food pantry. So it's important to stay connected and understanding and keeping the funds as flexible as possible, because our communities are changing. I would say if not weekly, probably daily on the needs, on what they need moving forward. And so we have to stay very flexible to the community. So for example, we didn't do deliveries in the past, and now we've had to adjust. And in the past, we didn't do Zoom case management. We've had to adjust. And so a lot of the funding that we're receiving or we're requesting is we're asking for some flexibility with the goal to stay within the perimeters, but also that flexibility to adjust to consistently meet our communities where they're at, especially our seniors. We want to make sure that we are there for them. A lot of the times they're not mobile, so we want to make sure that we support them and meet them where they're at. A lot of the times, like I said, they're alone. And so we want to make sure that absolutely no one feels alone in this space. And so again, I think volunteering, just to mimic what my colleagues before me, volunteering, donating, staying connected, and just consistently in prayer. To me, I think prayer, every day I get up in prayer and really have, to lift me up and continue to do what's right, not for myself, but for what's right for the community. And so to me, I think prayer moves mountains. And so I would ask for your continued prayers and love and ongoing commitment. And I couldn't be more grateful for your support. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much to Astrid, Suzanne, and Dr. Rivera. This has been so meaningful today. I'm Christy Campos, and as a deaconess, I am commissioned to serve as staff in the National Office of United Women in Faith. And I know that you join me in the feelings that today's program has stirred up inside of women who want to put our faith into action, right? These organizations and all of our national mission institutions do so much great work improving the lives of women, children, and youth, and that vital work must continue. Many of our national mission institutions were started by women of faith over 100 years ago and are still meeting the ever-changing needs of their community. United Women in Faith has recently made emergency grants to national mission institutions facing federal funding cuts, and we could not do this without your support of mission giving. Each time you give to missions through your pledge to mission or any of the 5 channels of mission giving, you are a part of this work you heard about today. You're a part of it because your gifts help support it, and we cannot thank you enough. If you are moved today to give more, we invite you to support the work of our national mission institutions by giving online using the information and direct link on your screen, or by writing a check to your local treasurers with the memo National Missions and the number 3001152. And that information, I believe, is also on your screen. Thank you again for the many ways you support the work of United Women in Faith through your continued mission giving. And now I believe we have just a very short time to take a couple of questions. And we know that you are anxious to ask questions of our panelists today. And we have several great questions in the Q&A section already on Zoom, but unfortunately we're running out of time. So I'd like to see if we can address maybe 1 or 2 of them and then invite our speakers to type their answers to the questions if they could look at those. And also remember that you are also able to you have that wonderful opportunity to go into breakout sections after this event and go into groups with each of our speakers to ask your questions directly there. And also, you have the ability to move from breakout room to breakout room in case you are like me and you don't want to miss anything. So I think the first question I would like to address is one that would go to Astrid, and it's an issue that I know is all heavy on all of our hearts. And it says, has or is Good Neighbor Settlement House a place that may be targeted for an ICE raid? Or are those that stay at Good Neighbor Settlement House vetted?
Yes, so we could be targeted. We have been blessed that they have not shown up. Now, we're a day shelter and we open at 6 in the morning and we close at 6. We welcome everyone, no questions asked. So it is for us a concern, that ICE could come in or Border Patrol, because we have both at the border, could come. And we've seen them sometimes go around. And just this weekend, for example, Good Neighbor Settlement House, it's Monday through Friday. We're closed on the weekends. Some clients stay outside. And, they had seen Border Patrol doing some of the rounds. So some of our clients that might not have status have actually not gone to Good Neighbor for a few weeks. So it is a real impact because these are people that, they come and eat and, have a shower, get clothing, do their laundry at Good Neighbor, and now we haven't seen them. So again, they have not come inside of Good Neighbor, but we know that's a constant fear of, all of our immigrant communities across the nation.
Well, you remain in our prayers. Thank you for sharing that. We have another question that perhaps Suzanne could answer for us. And it is, are your government officials assisting your national mission institution in any way?
A great question. And I would say that in the city, in the county, we're very, very fortunate to have wonderful people making decisions and having some money coming forward. I don't know if it's going to, make up the difference, but we just had our HUD organization here in Polk County create a blueprint of success for the unsheltered, and the county is moving forward and putting money into looking at housing for both emergency housing and permanent supportive housing. So we're very fortunate to have that happen. But of course, we still need the community to help because operations do continue and the need is growing, sad to say. But yes, thank you for the question. They are being helpful.